On the alien planet Cerelia, a great celebration was taking place. The palace was full of lights, music, and alien nobles wearing golden robes and shining jewels. It was the choosing ceremony, a time when the royal princess would select a mate, and the future king of Cerelia would be decided. But deep inside the palace, away from the crowd, Princess Lyra sat alone in her dark room. Dress was beautiful, glowing with soft silver threads. Her long blue hair fell across her shoulders, but her eyes, they were full of sadness. She looked out the window at the stars, wondering if anyone would ever see her heart, not just her body. Princess Lyra was born royal. She was smart, kind, and brave. But she had one problem: she couldn't walk. When she was only 7 years old, someone tried to kill her. A poisoned weapon cut her back. Since then, her legs had never moved again. Doctors said there was no cure. Cerelian culture praised strength and perfection, and now everyone called her the broken princess. No alien male wanted to mate with her. Why mate with someone who can't even stand? They whispered behind her back. Even her own family felt ashamed of her. The king, her father, told her to sit quietly and smile. Do not embarrass the royal blood. Tonight, during the ceremony, dozens of suitors were introduced. Princes from different planets stood in a line. Each of them bowed to the crowd and waited to be chosen. But Lyra sat still on her floating throne. She said nothing. Each suitor was given a chance to step forward and speak. One by one, they praised her beauty, but then stepped back without asking to mate. All of them gave excuses. One said he needed more time. Another said he had family business. But the truth was clear. No one wanted a disabled queen. In the crowd, humans watched from the back. Earth had recently joined the Galactic Council, and a team of soldiers was sent for diplomacy. Among them was a tall man with sharp eyes and a calm face, Ethan Cross, human soldier and peace ambassador. Ethan didn't wear gold. He didn't carry gifts. But his eyes were locked on Lyra the whole time. While others looked at her with pity or disgust, Ethan saw something different: fire hidden under cold ashes. As the ceremony continued, boredom filled the air. Nobles whispered. Some even laughed quietly. Suddenly, Ethan stepped forward. The crowd turned. A few gasped. What was a human soldier doing stepping into the royal choosing circle? Guards moved to stop him, but the queen raised her hand. Let the human speak, she said, curiously. Ethan walked forward slowly. His steps were steady, confident. He stopped in front of Lyra, looked into her eyes, and bowed. I don't come with jewels or ships, Ethan said in a clear voice. But I've seen war, I've seen leaders, and I've seen pain. Hey, when I look at you, princess, I see strength stronger than steel. The nobles started murmuring. Some laughed. One alien shouted, this is a joke. But Ethan didn't. Stop. I came here for peace. Taint. But now I ask something personal. He looked at Lyra again, his voice steady. Princess Lyra of Cerelia, will you mate with me? The entire palace fell silent. Lyra's eyes widened. Her lips parted slightly. This had never happened before. Someone, a human, was asking to mate with her. Not out of duty, not out of pity, but with honesty in his voice. The king stood up in anger. How dare a human ask this in front of the court? Ethan didn't look away, because no one else did. The silence returned. Lyra's fingers trembled slightly. Strange. Warmth spread across her chest. For the first time in years, someone saw her as more than her chair, more than her weakness. The queen's voice was sharp. This matter will be discussed privately. Guards, escort the human out. As the guards led Ethan away, Lyra couldn't stop staring at him. That night, alone again in her room, she replayed his words in her mind. I see strength stronger than steel. She didn't know why, but those words felt like light breaking through thick clouds outside her window. Ethan looked up at the stars, whispering to himself, I'm not leaving without knowing who tried to break her, ... and why. The next morning, the palace was full of noise. Nobles whispered in anger. Officials held secret meetings. The king's face stayed dark with rage. The news had spread fast across Zorelia. A human dared to ask for the hand of the disabled princess. For many, it was an insult. For others, it was a joke. No one could believe that Ethan Cross, a simple human soldier, had looked the princess in the eye and asked, will you mate with me? But inside her room, Princess Lyra wasn't angry. She wasn't sad either. For the first time in years, she felt alive. She kept hearing Ethan's words in her mind, so honest, so direct. While everyone else had looked away from her, he had seen her. Not just as a princess or as someone broken, but as a person. Lyra touched the edge of her floating chair and stared at the mirror. Her reflection looked different today, not because her face had changed, but because something inside her had awakened. Just then, her door opened. Her father, King Zyrax, entered with angry steps. His golden robe flowed like fire, but his eyes were full of cold. You will never see that human again, the king said sharply. He insulted the royal blood. He embarrassed us in front of the council. Lyra kept her voice calm. He only asked a question, one that no one else had the courage to ask. You are not thinking clearly, the king said. You are broken. You do not understand what a royal image must be. Those words hit Lyra like a sharp knife. Broken. Always broken. She looked away, fighting her tears. Maybe I'm broken. At least he didn't treat me like a ghost. The king left in silence, slamming the door behind him. Meanwhile, in a quiet part of the palace, Ethan stood in a holding room, guarded by 2 Zorelian soldiers. He wasn't angry. He wasn't afraid. He simply stood near the window, looking up at the sky. He knew what he had done, but he didn't regret it. When he saw Lyra, he had seen a warrior locked inside a cage, not by chains, but by people's cold hearts. A soft knock surprised him. The door opened slightly. A figure stepped in, wearing a dark hood. It was Lyra. Princess, Ethan said, shocked. What are you doing here? I needed to see you, she said, floating closer, before they send you away. He smiled gently. You didn't answer me yesterday. Lyra looked down, her voice soft. I don't know what to say. No one's ever asked me before. Not truly. I meant every word, Ethan said. You're strong. You've survived more than most. That takes power. Lyra hesitated, then said, why me, Ethan? You could choose anyone. Why choose someone who can't walk? Ethan stepped closer. 'Cause I don't want a mate to walk beside me. I want one who can stand strong inside of him when the world pushes her down. Lyra's eyes glistened. For a moment, the cold air between them melted. Suddenly, the door burst open. Guards entered with weapons raised. Step away from the princess. One shouted. Ethan held up his hands. She came on her own. The captain of the guard pushed Lyra back gently. Forgive me, princess, but this human has crossed a line. Before they could drag him away, a loud voice echoed through the palace. It was the queen, standing at the top of the stairs. Enough, she said. This matter must be discussed before the council. Later that day, the high council chamber was filled with leaders, nobles, and watchers from other planets. Everyone came to witness the strange event. A human asking to mate with a disabled alien princess. The queen stood at the front. Beside her sat King Zyrax, clearly still angry. Lyra was brought in, sitting proudly on her floating chair. Ethan stood beside her. A noble elder spoke. Human Ethan Cross, do you know what it means to ask for royal mating? I do, Ethan said firmly. You are not Xerelian. Q, have no title, no lands, and yet you ask to stand beside our princess. Ethan nodded. 'Cause I see more worth in her than all your golden crowns. Gasps filled the room. The council began to argue loudly. One alien shouted, "He only wants power." Another said, "Let him try." No one else stepped forward. The queen raised her hand. Silence. She looked at Lyra. "Do you wish to accept his request?" Lyra looked around the room. She saw the faces of nobles who once ignored her. She saw fear, pride, jealousy. But then she turned to Ethan Cum, strong and honest. She took a deep breath. "I don't know if I love him, but I want the right to choose. I'm gonna choose to know him." The room fell into silence again. The queen nodded. "Then he must face the trial of worth, the ancient test given to all who seek the hand of a royal." Lyra's eyes widened. The trial was dangerous, even deadly. Ethan simply said, "Then I accept." Ending suspense. As he was led out of the chamber, Lyra whispered, "Why are you doing this?" Ethan smiled and replied, "Because you're worth fighting for." 3 days passed since the council accepted Ethan's request. During those days, whispers of the strange human spread across Xerelia. Some mocked him, others were curious. But none could deny one thing: he was the only one who stepped forward. When no one else did, now the time had come. Ethan stood at the edge of the trial grounds, a vast and dangerous arena outside the palace walls. Around him were high mountains, rough winds, and alien energy storms flashing in the sky. The air smelled like fire and metal. Princess Lyra watched from a floating platform, her hands tight on the rail. Her heart beat fast. She wanted to stop this. She wanted to shout, "Don't do it." But she couldn't. This was the Xerelian way. If Ethan passed the trials, he would earn respect. If he failed, he would be buried as a brave fool. A voice echoed from the speakers above. Trial 1. The gravity storm field. Ethan looked ahead. Giant rocks floated in the air, spinning wildly under the pull of strong alien gravity. The goal was simple: get across without falling. But many had died here before. Ra leaned forward. "Please be careful," she whispered. Ethan took a deep breath and ran forward. Each step was a fight. The ground shook under his feet. His boots slipped on the smooth surface. Sharp winds pushed against him, nearly knocking him down. A large, floating rock came flying toward him. He ducked just in time, but the edge hit his shoulder. He rolled across the field, hitting the ground hard. "Get up," Lyra said softly, gripping the rail. "Don't stop." Ethan slowly stood. Blood dripped from his arm, but he kept moving. One step, then another. He jumped across a gap, landed, and barely avoided another spinning rock. It felt like hours. But finally, Ethan reached the other side. He fell to his knees, breathing hard, covered in sweat and dirt. The crowd gasped in surprise. Even the king, watching from a distance, showed a flicker of respect. Lyra's eyes filled with relief. She wanted to run to him, but her legs wouldn't move. She hated this chair. She hated being trapped, but deep inside, something strange was happening that night as Ethan rested in the trial barracks. Lyra visited him. His arm was wrapped in bandages, but he smiled when he saw her. "You were amazing," she said softly. He chuckled. Felt more like almost dead. They both laughed gently. Then Lyra grew quiet. "There's something I never told you," she said. Ethan sat up. "What is it?" "I wasn't just hurt by poison as a child. The attack didn't just take. My legs did something else too." She raised her hand and closed her eyes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, small objects around the room began to rise. Books, tools, even a chair. Ethan's eyes widened. You You have telekinetic power. Lyra opened her eyes. Everything dropped. She nodded slowly. It started after the attack. At first, I was scared. My family told me to hide it. This kind of power was once feared on Zerelia, they said. If the council knew, I would be called a danger. But why fear it? Ethan asked. Because long ago, a Zerelian queen used this power to overthrow the council and nearly destroyed the planet. Since then, the power was erased from the bloodline. Or so they thought. So, you're not just royalty, Ethan said. You're something more. Lyra looked down. No one must know. They'll think I'm a threat. That's why I can't rule. That's why my uncle wants me out of the way. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Your uncle? Lyra nodded. Lord Varna, he was the one who suggested the trial. He smiles in public, but in secret, he wants the throne. Ethan stood. Then we'll stop him. Lyra looked at him, confused. You still want to help me? Even after all this? I didn't come here for power or politics, Ethan said. I came for you. Her heart warmed at his words. For the first time, she reached out and touched his hand. I want to believe that, she said softly. You can, Ethan replied. Suddenly, a sharp alarm rang out. Guards ran past the room. Ethan and Lyra looked at each other. What's happening? She asked. A guard rushed in, breathing hard. Princess, someone tried to poison your food tonight. We caught the servant. He confessed. Said he was paid by Lord Varnick. Lyra's face turned pale. Ethan's expression grew dark. The game has begun, Ethan said coldly. But they don't know we're playing too. Darkness had fallen across the Zerelian palace, but sleep did not come easy. Inside her private chamber, Princess Lyra sat in silence. Her thoughts were racing. Her uncle, Lord Varnick, had tried to poison her. The truth was now clear. He no longer wanted to control her. He wanted her gone. She had kept her powers hidden for years. Her psychic energy, the ability to move objects, read thoughts, and sometimes even slow time, was once believed to be extinct. But after the attack in her childhood, it began to awaken deep inside her. Her parents feared it. The royal advisors said it was dangerous. She was told again and again to hide it, to act weak, to sit quietly in her floating chair. But now she was done hiding. Lyra floated toward the center of her room and closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed. Her fingers trembled. Soft blue light began to glow around her. The air shifted. Books lifted. The walls hummed with strange energy. Suddenly, a vision hit her mind. Ethan, standing in the center of the trial arena, attended by enemies, blood dripping from his forehead. Her eyes opened wide. They're going to kill him, she whispered. The next morning, the second trial began. Trial 2. The Trial of Illusions. Ethan entered the arena, where strange crystal walls created a maze. The crystals weren't normal. K created hallucinations, pulling out the worst memories and fears from a person's mind. It was designed to break even the strongest warrior. From the high viewing platform, nobles gathered to watch. Lord Varnock sat with a fake smile, hiding his evil thoughts. Princess Lyra arrived late, floating silently to her seat. She wore a dark, royal cloak, and her eyes looked different, calm but dangerous. Inside the maze, Ethan's body moved, but his mind was under attack. He saw visions of his fallen teammates from Earth. The sound of screaming, the smell of smoke. Then he saw Lyra, chained and crying, calling for help as Zerelian guards dragged her away. Ethan fell to his knees, clutching his head. Outside the maze, Lyra closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. No one noticed it at first. Her lips didn't move, but her power flowed like water through the air. She connected her thoughts to Ethan's. Ethan, ... It's not real. Fight it. I'm here, in the middle of the maze. Ethan gasped. The vision started to fade. Her voice, soft and warm, brought him back. He stood up, eyes burning with focus, and pushed forward. The crystal illusions cracked and fell as he walked through. Within minutes, he reached the center of the maze. The nobles gasped in disbelief. Even the king leaned forward, shocked that Ethan had passed the second trial, something even some Zarelian warriors had failed. But Lord Varnock was not happy. His fingers gripped the armrest of his chair tightly. Later that evening, Lyra and Ethan met in the palace garden. The stars were bright above them, and alien flowers glowed softly around the path. "You saved me again," Ethan said, looking at her with gentle eyes. Lyra looked up. "I connected to your mind. I didn't know if it would work." "It did," he replied. "Your voice brought me back." She looked away. "They always said my powers were a curse, but when I saw your pain, I didn't care anymore. I had to help." Ethan stepped closer. "Your power isn't a curse. It's a gift. You're not broken, Lyra. You're the strongest person I've ever known." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why do you always say the right thing?" He smiled. "Because I see the truth." Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind them. A royal guard approached and bowed. "Princess, urgent message from the palace. There's been an attack in the royal archive. Someone tried to burn the old bloodline records." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "It's trying to erase my history, the proof of my power." She turned to Ethan. "He's preparing to take the throne." "Then we need to stop him," Ethan said. "No," Lyra said, standing tall in her floating chair. "I need to stop him. I'm done hiding. I'll show the council who I really am." That night, Lyra entered the secret chamber beneath the Palisa, room only royal blood could open. Inside were old scrolls, holograms, and hidden memories of ancient queens with powers like hers. She touched the wall, and images flashed in front of her. Queens with glowing eyes, leading armies, stopping wars, healing nations. For so long, she thought her powers were a shame. But now, she knew the truth. She was the descendant of forgotten power, and it was time to awaken it. The golden halls of the Zarelian palace were shining as if nothing was wrong. Nobles gathered in fine robes, smiling and talking about the trials. But behind their smiles, whispers of fear moved like shadows. Everyone had seen what Ethan did. A human had passed 2 dangerous trials, and the princess. She had started to glow with unknown power that morning. The final trial was announced, Trial 3, the trial of combat. The rules were clear. The challenger must face a Zarelian warrior. In a fight, the one who stands last is the victor. Ethan stood in the armory, preparing himself. His arm was still sore from the first trial, and his body felt tired, but his mind was sharp. His heart beat for only one reason. Lyra, outside, Princess Lyra, sat quietly in the viewing gallery, her eyes locked on the arena. She had warned Ethan, "This is not just a fight. My uncle controls the guards. He will do anything to make you lose." Ethan had nodded. "Then I'll be ready." The arena was wide, built from silver stone. Zarelian flags flew high in the air. Thousands of people watched from seats above. At the center stood Ethan, calm and focused. Then the gate opened. His opponent stepped forward, Commander Vex, one of the royal family's personal guards. He was taller, stronger, and carried a heavy battle staff. His body was enhanced with alien tech. The bell rang. Vex rushed forward like lightning. Ethan dodged, rolled, and blocked the first few hits. The sound of metal echoed in the air. At first, seemed like a fair fight. But then something changed. A royal guard behind the wall aimed a small device at Ethan. A sharp red light shot forward and hit his back. Ethan stumbled. His knees dropped. He coughed in pain. "Poison dart," Lyra whispered in shock. "They cheated." The crowd didn't see it. From their view, it looked like Ethan was just tired. Commander Vex used the moment, slammed his staff into Ethan's side, sending him crashing into the arena wall. Ethan struggled to stand. His vision blurred. Blood dripped from his lip. Lyra stood from her chair, her voice shaking. "Stop the fight. He's been poisoned." But the king waved his hand. "This is tradition." He accepted the risk. Lyra's eyes burned with rage. She had stayed silent long enough. She raised her hand, and the air around her began to shimmer. People gasped as her eyes glowed blue. Her hair floated like wind was moving through it. With one sharp cry, she used her power. The poison device flew from the guard's hand and smashed into the ground. The weapon exploded, revealing its dark purpose. The arena froze. Ethan, still breathing, looked up and saw her floating down into the arena. Her chair didn't move. She floated on her own, surrounded by glowing energy. The crowd stared in silence. Lyra turned to the king. "This trial is broken. Just like this kingdom." The queen stood, shocked. "Lyra, what are you doing?" "I'm doing what I should have done long ago." She faced the council. "For years I was told I was weak, that I was broken, but my body was only part of the story. My mind, my heart, and my power were never weak." She looked at Lord Varnack. "And you tried to kill me as a child. You failed. You tried again. You failed again." Varnack stood up, pretending to laugh. "These are wild words from a girl who floats and plays with tricks." Lyra's voice sharpened. "Let's see if they are tricks." She lifted her hand and the arena floor shook. Stones rose into the air. Energy spiraled around her like a storm. Varnack's robe flew open, revealing a hidden blade. He rushed toward Lyra, but Ethan, even with pain in his body, stood and threw himself in front of her. The blade cut across his arm, but he blocked the full attack. Lyra screamed, and her power exploded in light. Varnack flew backward and slammed into the arena wall. He didn't move. Guards rushed forward, weapons drawn, but the queen raised her voice. "Enough. Stand down." But she looked at Lyra with tears in her eyes. "You have the gift, the power of our ancient queens." Lyra nodded. "I'm not broken. I'm the return of the forgotten bloodline." The queen turned to the council. "Let it be known, Lord Varnack is a traitor, and Princess Lyra has earned her right not just as royal blood, but as protector of Zorelia." The nobles clapped, slowly at first, then louder. The crowd stood in honor. Lyra turned to Ethan and held his hand. "You risked your life," she whispered. Again, he smiled through the pain. "For you, always." The arena was quiet. Dust floated in the air. Ethan stood beside Princess Lyra, his body bleeding, but his eyes steady. Lord Varnack lay unconscious against the far wall, defeated and exposed as a traitor. The people of Zorelia had just witnessed something they had never seen before. Princess once called broken, standing tall with powerful energy, and a human soldier fighting by her side like a true warrior. But peace didn't last long. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed through the Palisand alarm. Guards ran into the arena, shouting, "Emergency in the tower." Energy signature detected. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's not over." Before she could finish, a blast of red light burst from the sky. A hidden drone, left behind by Lord Varnack, hovered above. A strange black mist floated down from it, heading straight for Ethan. "Get away from it," Lyra cried, but it was too late. The mist wrapped around Ethan's body like a dark fog. He gasped, dropped to his knees, and grabbed his head. His body shook. His eyes turned black. Lyra screamed, "No!" Guards rushed forward, but the queen raised her hand. "Stop. Don't touch him. That's a mind-controlled parasite. Hide. It feeds on fear and pain." Lyra flew down and knelt beside Ethan. His body was cold. His face was pale. His lips moved, but the words didn't make sense. "Don't let it take him," she whispered. "Please." Inside Ethan's mind, darkness spread. He was no longer in the arena. He was in a twisted dream. He stood on a battlefield, all alone. Around him were the bodies of people he had failed soldiers, friends, even Lyra. The black sky above laughed at him. "You are weak," a dark voice hissed. "You are just a human, nothing more." "No," Ethan whispered. "I won the trials. I saved her." The voice laughed again. "You are broken inside. Let go. Be mine." But then something changed. A soft light appeared in front of him. A glowing figure Lyra walked toward him. Her eyes were warm, her hand reaching for his. "You're not broken," she said softly. "You're brave, you're kind, and you're not alone." Ethan shook his head. "You're not real." "I am," she said. "I'm with you, always." Suddenly, the darkness screamed. The parasite inside his mind began to twist and burn. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand and light exploded in all directions. In the real world, Lyra gasped as her and Ethan's hands glowed together. A wave of psychic energy blasted the parasite off his body, throwing the black mist into the sky, where it burned and vanished. Ethan opened his eyes, blinking. His voice was weak. "Lyra, I'm here," she said, tears running down her cheeks. The queen stepped forward. "How did you connect to his mind?" Lyra stood slowly. "'Cause our bond is more than flesh. It's more than mating or duty. It's soul to soul." Ethan chuckled weakly. Sounds romantic." The queen smiled. "And dangerous, but also powerful." The council, watching from above, began to murmur. One elder stood. "This human passed all trials. He faced death. He saved our princess. What more do we need?" Another nodded. "He did more than most Zurelians ever could." The king, though still silent, finally spoke. His voice was deep but calm. "The trials are over. The truth is clear. He is worthy." The queen turned to the people. "Then let it be known, Ethan of Earth is no longer a stranger. He is an ally, a champion, and if the princess chooses him, we will honor that." All eyes turned to Lyra. She stepped forward, took Ethan's hand, and looked around. "I choose him," she said. "Not because I have to, but because he chose me first when no one else would." The crowd cheered. For the first time in her life, Lyra didn't feel shame. She didn't feel weak. She felt powerful and loved. Later that evening, in the healing chambers, Ethan rested in bed. Lyra sat beside him, holding his hand. "I went inside your mind," she whispered. "I know." He smiled. "You were beautiful in there." She laughed, gently. "You fought hard. So did you." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Ethan said, "What happens now?" Lyra looked at the stars through the window. "Now we take back the throne. We bring peace. We build something new together." Ethan nodded. "I'm with you, always." The sun rose slowly over the palace of Zorelia, casting golden light across the towers. For the first time in many years, the air felt peaceful. The shadows of betrayal were gone. The people whispered a new name now, the Princess of Power. Sid sighed. The royal garden. Princess Lyra stood under a glowing tree. The blue leaves sparkled gently. She wore a royal dress, simple but strong, with a silver symbol on her chest, the mark of the ancient queens. Across from her stood Ethan, dressed in formal robes made for him by Zorelian hands. His injuries had healed, but his heart still beat faster whenever he looked at her. Today was no longer about trials or politics. Today was about something greater. Today, the princess and the human would be bonded. The royal bonding ceremony was ancient. It wasn't just marriage. It was a soul-joining ritual, one that connected to beings forever, mind to mind, heart to heart. It had not been used in hundreds of years. No royal had dared to use it since the time of the Forgotten Queens. But Lyra had chosen it because she was done with fear, done with hiding. And she chose Ethan not as a duty, but as her equal. The queen, standing between them, raised her hands. We gather here to witness a union that no one expected, but one that has touched every heart. The crowd stood silent. Nobles, guards, and even members of the Galactic Council watched closely. The queen continued. He came as a stranger. He stayed as a fighter. And now he stands as a part of our world. Okay. She turned to Lyra. Do you accept this bond, knowing it connects you forever? Lyra looked into Ethan's eyes. Okay. Yes, I accept him. He saw me when no one else would, and he fought for me when everyone else gave up. The queen turned to Ethan. And you, Ethan of Earth, do you accept this bond? Ethan smiled. Yes, she's the strongest soul I've ever known. I would face the galaxy again just to stand beside her. The queen nodded, then joined hands. As their hands touched, a soft light rose between them. It wasn't magic. It was something more, energy of truth, love, and courage. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. Ethan felt a warm wave pass through him, as if her thoughts were now gently brushing his. He heard her voice in his mind. Can you hear me? He smiled, loud and clear. The bond was complete. The crowd broke into applause. Some were still in shock. Others smiled with joy. But no one could deny the truth. Thawne outcast princess had found her place. And a human had changed the heart of a planet. Later, the two sat alone in the moon garden under the soft light of Zarelia's twin moons. The ceremony was over, but the moment still felt unreal. I still can't believe this, Ethan said. A few weeks ago, I was just a soldier. Now, I'm ... What? A prince. Lyra laughed. We don't call it prince. But yes, you're now bound to the royal bloodline. He leaned back. Does that mean I have to wear those long robes all the time? She grinned. Only during boring council meetings. They both laughed. The sound was soft and full of peace. Then Lyra grew quiet. Do you regret it? Coming here? Risking your life? Ethan turned to her. Never. If I hadn't come here, I never would have found you. And you changed me. You made me believe in more than war. You showed me what real strength looks like. She touched his hand gently. Okay. And you gave me something no one else ever did, a choice. They sat in silence for a while, just enjoying the stars above them. Then Ethan asked, what happens next? Lyra smiled. Now we rebuild, not just the palace, not just the laws, but the hearts of our people. We show them that love, strength, and courage are more important than tradition. He nodded. We do it together. Months passed. Zarelia changed. Old laws were rewritten. Disabled children were welcomed, not hidden. Foreigners were treated with respect. And the throne was no longer a symbol of perfection, but of unity. People came from other planets just to see the couple who defied the rules and rewrote the future. And in the center of it all stood Princess Lyra, longer seen as broken, but as a queen who rose from pain, and a woman who chose love. Beside her, always, stood Ethan, the human who didn't see weakness, only light.